Good day. Welcome to my YouTube channel, guys. And today we are talking COVID-19, and we are talking the impact of COVID-19 on tenants as well as the landlords, and what each of us must actually know relating to COVID-19. Now, South Africa has been, and the world has been gripped with this pandemic, and it's a very serious pandemic, and it affects all of us. And it is something that was not planned, that could not have been foreseen, and we have to make do with what we have, isn't it? But one thing for sure is that we must continue to sanitize, continue to wear our gloves, continue to wear our masks, and try by all means to ensure that we are safe. Not only that we are safe, but our families are safe, and those that are around us. And I think it is clear that a few days ago we were mourning those that have lost their lives during the state of national disaster. The national flags were flowing half mast, and we were wearing various um, signages that indicates that we are in a state of mourning as a nation. And I think it was really a very important and necessary thing to do as a country, standing together and acknowledging and paying respects to those that have gone as a result of this pandemic. But what I want to talk to you about today is the impact of COVID-19 on the rental market, particularly whenever it comes to the relationship between the landlord and the tenant. And we know that COCTA, for example, makes regulations that must be complied with during the state of national disaster. And the rental market was not left alone. And what is clear from the national regulations as they stand is that no person must be evicted from their homes or residence or place that they are letting during the state of national disaster. So for as long as the the state of national disaster continues, this regulation is and remains in force. And one thing that is clear is that no eviction can happen without the courts saying so. So if you want to evict a person during this time, it is necessary that the courts must have a say. And one thing that the regulations also indicate is that the courts may, for example, grant an eviction against a particular person, but then suspend or stay the eviction until, for example, the lapse or termination of the state of national disaster. And I think this is a very progressive part in the regulations. And another thing that I think I want you to understand is that during this state of national disaster, when the court considers to balance the interest of the landlord vis-a-vis the interest of the tenant, there are certain things that they have to bear in mind. And one of the issues relates to public interest issues, and that is the fact that all people must have access to a place of residence during this state of national disaster. And it's a very, very, very important issue that must be there. And then secondly, one thing that the court must understand is the basic services, that people need basic services to be able to protect their own health and the health of others. That includes their families, people around them, their neighbors, and so forth. Another issue basically that the courts, according to the regulations, must consider when making this assessment is one, the restrictions on the movements of people. The restrictions on the movements of people, because as a result of COVID-19, we were subjected to various levels of restrictions when it comes to our own personal movements and so forth. And obviously different areas currently in the country are treated differently, and then the national regulations would indicate what must happen in these issues. But also, another issue is to ensure that there are no unnecessary gatherings at different places because people have nowhere to stay. So that is very, very, very key. Now, it is very important that we understand that during the COVID-19, all of us really must come to the party. And if you are a landlord, it does not mean that you cannot go and apply for the eviction of the person, but you might also need to understand later why the courts would grant you the eviction, but then suspend or stay the execution thereof. So, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking time to listen and to understand what goes into the national regulations on state of disaster and what you must expect from that. And having said that, thank you very much for listening, and we see you next time. Appreciate.